What's up, everybody? This is Ed from This Day in Metal, and today I'm very excited to be speaking with Damna, lead vocalist from Italian pagan metal greats Elvenking. The final album of their fantastic Reader of the Runes concept trilogy, titled Luna, is set to be released on April 11th through Reaper Entertainment. What's up, Damna? How's it going?
Oh, it's all great, thank you. Glad to be here with you tonight.
Thank you very much for joining me. So this is the third album of the Reader of the Runes concept, which is really just an incredibly ambitious project for you guys to undertake. The first two
Yeah.
installments were 2019's Divinations and 2023's Rapture. What inspired you to come up with such a large concept?
It wasn't supposed to be so large at first. It's been years that me and Aiden wanted to come up with a concept album, but we never had the right idea, I think, and we always discarded all the ideas that were coming up because we thought they weren't strong enough. But then we were on a flight to South America, I think, in 2018. And we had all the time, of the flight to come up with ideas because we were just starting to think about the next album at the time. And yeah, we just started throwing, ideas and things around a possible concept album at the time. And this story started to come up, to shape up. And yeah, and in the end, we ended up with the trilogy with three albums because the story was a bit too complicated to just fit one album. And yeah, we started from there. We developed part one, and we then made the album Divination, the first part. And then during the pandemic, we had all the time to write the songs and lyrics of part two and part three. So we basically developed part two and three together. So we had all the time to split the songs, depending, on the mood of the album, and we had all the time to do that. And yeah, basically we are big fans of since forever of bands like King Diamond and the way he used to do albums. It's always been fascinating to us. Building up these stories throughout the course of all of the album and creating atmospheres and moods and getting a story that goes together with the music has always been something that we really appreciated and were fascinated about. So albums like, yeah, I mean, Abigail or Them, My King Diamond, or I don't know, also rock operas like Streets from Savatage or The Crimson Idol from Wasp, for example, albums that have these great stories that go with the music.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was trying to think of a concept that was spread out over three different albums, and the only thing I could come up with was Halloween with Keeper of the Seven Keys.
Oh,
And so
okay.
it's
Even if,
really,
yeah, part three came some years later, but yeah.
yeah, it's kind of like Queensryche when they came out with Operation Mindcrime 2, like, like that kind of thing. But
Yeah.
this is three
Yeah.
right in a row that really, having listened to all three, the story really is incredible. I just want to make sure that I have the general story right. Um, So there's a person that comes to the village, right, known as the Reader of the Runes, and they kind of take up um, within nature. I think it's within a tree. I think I saw in a previous interview you said that. So the first
Exactly.
album is basically the divinations, right? They're kind of making these predictions, and then the second
Yeah.
album is those divinations are coming to fruition, and the
Exactly.
results are not very good from what
Exactly.
I took away from it. So what can
Yeah,
we
exactly.
expect from that's my very like dumbed down version of the albums.
Well, it's correct. It's
Okay,
correct.
all right. I just want to make sure I had it right.
Yeah.
So what can we expect from this last chapter of the story, without any spoilers?
Well, this chapter is like going back to the past, to when the characters were kids, and we discover why they are all linked together. So there is this side of the story, and the music goes along that with a bit of more of a light-hearted mood, also, in the music and in the melodies and in the tone. And then we have a part that is very sad and melancholic because we go straight to what happened, what was the reason why all of this happened, and it's basically a very tragic moment, and we developed that with songs that are a bit more melancholic, a bit more doomy, and that could go uh like tell this part of the story in the right way.
Yeah. So as you're coming up with this story, or I know you said you guys were, developing it over time, like, did you have like a set end in sight when you started out, or did it kind of evolve as you were writing it?
uh I think that it we had like a slight idea, but we needed some time to really develop how it really went in the end. I mean, we had this idea of the divinations of this character, the reader of the runes, that was appearing in this place, in this village, and it was fascinating to write songs and lyrics that, every song was like a divination, like this kind of like predicting visions and stuff. That was really interesting to do that. But then, yeah, we needed the time to really develop every storyline, each storyline of each character. That was pretty challenging. And then link them all together. I mean, we had a general idea, but then when as we were writing it wasn't that easy to make all things, fall in the right place. We had some moments where, hey, why this is happening? I mean, we need to find the right answer for all of these questions, and make them consistent to the whole story. But it was a long process, but it wasn't that difficult. I mean, it was challenging, but it was nice to do that. A new thing for us to write an album and also a story, and then we had to write all of the notes for the booklets and the books that are included in the limited editions. That was pretty a lot of writing, actually.
It's a really creative and ambitious project, and I'm really, happy for you guys to see it come to fruition with, it's such, listening back to the previous two albums and listening, I got a chance to listen to the album itself. It really ties itself together nicely, and it's true to your style as a band, and it's a great piece of art, really, uh,
Thank
you
you
know,
so much.
all
Thank you.
together. One thing that I wanted to note about the trilogy, and I know this was out in the press release, was that you have two epics on there, right? You have Reader of the Runes book one, and then book two is going to be the last song in the entire trilogy. And you guys were
Yeah.
really focused and determined to write epics for this, trilogy. What made you so determined to do that, to write those longer form songs, or to have at least a couple featured?
Yeah, well, I think that the long song in metal is when it's really good. We've seen many examples in the past. It's really capable to create this kind of an epic feeling, and sometimes, yeah, have all the time to tell a tale. I mean, songs like, I don't know, Rime of the Ancient Mariner from Maiden, or Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. These songs were kind of, helping you enter like another world, another, you just forgot about everything in your real life, and just, dived into this great long song with a lot of atmosphere, a lot of different moments. So I think that it was necessary for us to write in the opening chapter and in the last one two songs that could really give this feeling. And it wasn't that easy because it's not easy to write long songs, not at all. And it's not something that we take for granted. I mean, it's like, not okay, now we write a long song, and and there it goes. No, it doesn't. It never happened. So we really needed to have all the right material in order to do that. Me and Aiden just sat down and started listening to all of the riffs, all of these material that we had, and we built built up these two long songs like night after night, just listening to them again and recording pre-production until it was everything falling in the right place. We could have done that also for part two, but well, there are two reasons why we didn't do it. First of all, we thought it wasn't needed for part two. Part two it's heavier, it's darker,
Mhm.
just needed to tell the tale to all of the tragic events, and we went with the songs that we had, and we didn't need an epic song that went with that, and also we didn't have another long song, so we just didn't feel the need to write one more. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about taking, a song taking you into another world, that's basically what you're doing with these three albums. And then to have those epic songs on top of it, I feel like adds another layer to it. So I'm really excited for people to hear the concluding song for this album.
yeah, me too.
You guys just did a run through Europe with Pagan Fest, right? So you had an opportunity to play
Yeah,
some of the new songs live. Throes
yeah,
of Atonement and Luna, those are the two singles that are out right now. What's the
exactly.
reception been to those, either, as singles or when you played them live? And what was that tour experience kind of like?
It's always strange to play new songs, especially when the album isn't out. I mean, we only had the singles out, and Luna was out like it was out the 10th of January,
Mm,
and the tour started on the 8th, I think. But we didn't play it in the very first shows because we wanted people to at least have a listen to it. But it was great to see that like a couple of weeks after it was released, we played Luna, and people was already singing the lyrics. So that was pretty amazing to see. I mean, so it's great when you see that, people really cares, that people listen to the song, and that enjoyed it, and that was already like ready to get it from a live show. I mean, that was really good. So yeah, overall it was really positive. I mean, Throes of Atonement, we started the shows with that song, and it's a bit more of a complicated song. It's not just a straight 3 minute one,
mm.
but still people was really into it. So yeah, that was really good.
Yeah, I saw that I saw an interview when I was preparing for this of you guys talking to someone, I think they were from Canada, but you were just going on about black metal, and I was so surprised that you guys were big black metal fans. But
Yeah.
I was planning on bringing up a band that you actually played with on Pagan Fest. I think Waylander played with you guys. I think
Yeah.
they were in the slot before you. I was curious if
Yeah,
you
they
had.
played they played in a couple of shows, like extended shows. Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly, like, I must have discovered them years and years ago when they put their first album out, and I didn't know if anyone else knew of them. But did you know of them before? Obviously, you had some idea,
Yeah.
but I thought they were
Yeah,
kind
yeah, I
of
have.
similar, almost.
Yeah, I have their album from back in the days, their first album. I have it on over there on
Yeah,
CD.
Reawakening Pride Once Lost. I loved that back in the day. It was had
Yeah.
King of the Fairies on it, and there was another song that I'm blanking on right now. But oh, Born to the Fight, great song.
Okay. Yeah,
But
yeah. I mean, and there's the guy who plays like the flute. There is
yeah.
Briggs, who played on a lot of albums from Elvenking. I mean, he guested pretty much in all of the latest albums. So yeah, we have that connection with
I had no
Waylander.
idea. I literally put it together this morning. So I'm
Oh,
glad that I
cool.
did because I would have looked a little silly asking it later.
Oh,
Speaking of, we were talking about metal classics. Dan Swanö, Edge of Sanity, Bloodbath, Mixed Divinations, and the Moon and the Magic single for you guys. How
yeah.
did you come to work with him, and what was that experience like for you?
Well, first of all, we are big fans of some of the stuff he made, both as a musician and as a producer. I
Hmm.
mean, he produced one of my favorite albums ever, which is Storm of the Lights Bane by Dissection. But of course, he did also the
Incredible
song
album.
related. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I
Yeah.
have no words.
What's there
That's
to
really one
say?
of my
Yeah. What's there to
exactly.
say?
And that the way he produced albums in the 90s was really mind-blowing because he was bringing, like, for example, in Dissection, with all the reverbs and stuff, it was creating something that was unique and it was really one of a kind. And those albums are so important also for how they sound. So yeah, Dan Swanö was definitely, we were and are big fans of him. So since we saw that he was still, working, producing albums, he just a while before we called him for the Divination album, we saw that he made like an album from Rage, and we listened to that, and we said, yeah, it is like evolving, but still keeping that kind of a attitude in production, like keeping real sounds, but adding a touch of power, adding a touch of something that really
Hmm.
also keeps the album at pace with the times, I think, which is something that it, it, it it's not needed, but it's useful nowadays. So yeah, we just called him, and it was super nice to work with him. He's such a great guy, like asking a million things about how we wanted the album to sound like. So it was really, really, really a great experience.
That's great. That's super cool. To, work with someone that you grew up listening to albums that they produced, and now you're working with that
Yeah,
person's got to be a great moment.
yeah,
Similarly,
definitely.
I know you brought up Savatage before, but Jon Oliva did guest vocals on 2012's Era on a couple of the tracks. How did you manage to get him to do that? And what was as a vocalist yourself, how was it to work with him?
Well, it was of course amazing, and it was like a dream come true because he is one of our favorite singers and from one of the big bands of the 80s and 90s that we love so much. Basically, we toured with Jon Oliva's Pain, his
Mm-hmm.
band. I think it was back in 2007, something like that. So we came to know him during that tour, and he was such a nice guy to hang out with. And yeah, on Era, we just thought that his voice could fit those songs, and we just called him, and it did it. So it was really, really cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. I mean, Hall of the Mountain King, one of my favorite albums of all time. So I was very interested. Again, it's like, what do you say, right? There's not much to say about
Yeah,
that album. It's fantastic.
exactly.
It's
Yeah,
fantastic.
totally.
So when I first discovered you guys, there were a couple tracks that like really grabbed my attention. The first was Pagan Purity, which was off the now classic Heathen Reel. But the
Yeah.
second was your cover of Heaven is a Place on Earth. And that song is interesting to me because it's on Two Tragedy Poets, the album, but it's kind of just like right in the middle of the album. What was the band's thought process on covering that and putting that on that album?
Well, yeah, the Two Tragedy Poets is basically an acoustic or semi-acoustic
Yeah.
album. And I don't know, we just thought that, apart from the fact that we love that song,
It's a great
we
song.
love, yeah, it's a super, super song. And we wanted to record a cover of some songs, but since it was an acoustic album and all, and then we also wanted to choose a song that was not coming from the metal world,
Mhm.
and maybe a song that's not obvious that like we covered, like I don't know, Skyclad, for example, that we did some
Mhm.
cover Skyclad or other metal bands. We just thought, yeah, to pick up a song that's coming, from a song we love, but out from the metal world and do it our way. So yeah, that was basically why we did that.
Well, it worked because I heard it and I got more into the band. I'm like, oh, these guys are pretty good. Let me go check out some more of what they got.
Oh, cool, cool.
Um, so along similar lines, we're talking about you know, old bands that, people you've worked with, Jon Oliva, different things like that. Like for you, when you started, singing, like who were your biggest influences? What made you want to be a metal frontman, like the metal frontman that you are today?
Well, when I was a kid, I was like watching singers like Axl Rose or Freddie Mercury or Steven Tyler, and they were like, okay, my vision, of what I've
Mhm.
liked to do one day, like growing up. So probably that was the first spark that ignited the fire when I was really a kid. But then, you know, um, I think that I'm a kind of a strange type of singer. I'm not the usual singer because my influences are like it's like a crazy melt pot of different artists and styles. Like I don't know, I of course I love Bruce Dickinson
Mhm.
or Eric Adams from Manowar or these great melodic singers that have this beautiful melodic voice. But then I'm really attracted. I've always been attracted to the singers that could put up a performance, like King Diamond, for
Mhm.
example. Um, but I also love when a singer can bring on stage all of the wrath and chaos of singers from like the black metal world.
Yeah.
So it's this strange melt pot of things that I've really influenced me and are have made the singer that I am today. Where it's important to have a certain control of the voice and technique, but at the same time, it's even more important for me to bring out a performance, to be um, like possessed by the music on stage.
Mhm.
So that's it. That is what is driving me as a singer.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, I mean, speaking of those performances and I wanted to ask you about the way you guys dress for your performances and for the videos. What's the significance of the outfits and the face paint?
Well, we've always we always had the idea to extend the music and bring also, the world we're talking about or the things we are talking about in the lyrics to portray them also with our costumes or makeup or yeah, whatever. In the first album, if you look at the photos, there was an attempt in doing that.
Mhm.
To kind of, as I said, we've always liked the idea of um, like taking the listener to another world, far from the real world in a way or another. So, also by having like a proper appearance could help the listener to just, forget about the real world and just, I don't know, for an hour or for the length of an album, just get out of it and enter a world that's not real. So that is basically what drove us to finally get back the idea of doing this. Something like, I don't know, it's 10 years or a bit
Mhm.
more now that we decided to have some like stage clothes and like this paint on like face painting on stage. So it's basically the our will to extend our music and our world also on stage, also on the photos and on the videos and wherever we appear.
Yeah, my initial impression of it, and I thank you for explaining that, but like knowing that you're so into like the old black metal scene, I almost thought corpse paint for a second. Like it may be an homage to that, but if
Well,
yeah,
the influence is there. I mean,
yeah,
yeah, of course, there is some of that. There is some of that.
yeah. So now that, the Reader of the Runes trilogy is completed, what's next for Elvenking?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, we've been talking about that a lot, and for sure, no more concept stories for a while
Take a little
because it's
breather.
yeah, exactly. It's been consuming, but yeah, we're totally happy about how it came. But yeah, we can't wait to write like a normal album. It's gonna be new again, so that we really can't wait to start the works on a new album for that because it seems like it's been ages that we haven't been able to do like a normal album with just 10 or 11 songs and just uh, don't really care too much about how it should be because of the story, just be a bit more like free with
Yeah.
the songwriting. So yeah, that will definitely be the next step for us.
Any chance that you guys tour North America anytime soon? I know you did last year.
Yeah, we did last year, and we will for sure be back in North America. We recently also signed with the booking agency over there, so there will be
Great.
definitely be more shows in the States and Canada for sure.
Well, when you do, I'll be sure to be checking you guys out. Elvenking's Reader of the Runes Luna, the last album in the Reader of the Runes trilogy, is going to be released on April 11th through Reaper Entertainment. You can pre-order the album at elvenking.net. The first two singles, Throes of Atonement and Luna, are available now on all major streaming platforms. Damna, thank you so much for speaking with me today. Super cool to speak with you about the new album. I'm looking forward to everyone hearing it, and good luck with everything moving forward, man. And hopefully, I'll see you next year if you guys come over.
Thank you so much, Ed. It's been a great pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks, man.